Iowa Hawkeyes receiving more news from a player who had entered the transfer portal here recently. Former Iowa linebacker Jestin Jacobs has committed to Oregon. We'll talk about the blow to Iowa's defense, what it means, and just the thoughts on the changing landscape in college football. Was this all about NIL? We'll talk about it. But first, I want to tell you about From the Hawkeye of the Storm. This channel right here, folks, is here because of you. And if you're interested in supporting the work being done here, please consider donating to the cause. You can donate by Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. There are links to all the donation sites in our description. Again, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App. You can also donate by credit card. Even if you don't have a PayPal account, click on the PayPal link and donate by credit card. All donations are appreciated. And again, help this channel to continue to function. So, former Iowa linebacker Jestin Jacobs heading to Eugene, Oregon. By the way, beautiful area, beautiful countryside. That is a gorgeous area. Autzen Stadium is just awesome. But the bottom line is Jestin Jacobs was projected to be a star next year as an Iowa linebacker. I mean, he's a starter this year before he went down with an injury. I thought he was really good at times last year. You get him out in space. He's a guy who can handle bigger tight ends in coverage. We saw him make a couple of big plays against Iowa State on the road last year. He was a large part of that victory for the Hawkeyes on the road, as were Jack Campbell and Seth Benson. Linebackers showed out in that game. But nevertheless, he goes down with an injury this year and had indicated to Seth Wallace, at least according to what Seth Wallace told the media during the season, during some assistant coach availability, that he was planning on returning. Now, things change, and with the portal window opening, Jestin Jacobs entered the portal just last week, actually. And yes, there had been some rumors swirling about Oregon for a few days prior to that announcement. But I had also been told on pretty good authority that Georgia was a potential player for Jestin Jacobs, or at least that he was interested in Georgia. Now, whether Georgia was reciprocating that, Georgia obviously has a terrific front seven and has had a terrific defense overall for a number of years now. So whether or not Georgia offered, I don't know. But it sounds like some of those rumors that were out there about Jestin Jacobs wanting to go to Oregon are true. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Oregon threw a bunch of money at him. Now, you may disagree with me and say, well, it's obvious, Corey. Obviously, they're throwing money at him. Big Nike school, blah, 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 blah. I get that. That might be the case. I did see Seth Jacobs, I believe that's Jestin's dad, kind of coming to his son's defense on Twitter yesterday and basically stating how his son just wanted a change. Now, that doesn't mean there's not money involved, but I can understand a kid wanting a change. And look, I understand the reasoning of why would you want to leave a Phil Parker coached defense. Now, I will say there has been at least one allegation against linebacker coach Seth Wallace in the past, not to take us back to 2020, but Mark Kallenberger had accused Seth Wallace of some bullying. And I'm not saying that that's got anything to do with why Jestin Jacobs is leaving, but I'm just saying for the people out there that say, well, I have no idea why in the world Jestin Jacobs would want to leave. Why would you want to leave Phil Parker? Well, his position coach is not Phil Parker. His position coach is Seth Wallace. Just a note there, nothing against Seth. I hope that that's just a one-time incident. We can't 100% corroborate that as being true, but that's out there. As it relates to NIL, yes, Oregon, I think we can say with a good level of confidence that Oregon is maybe slightly better equipped to throw big dollar figures at recruits and transfer portal targets. Let's not forget they pulled Kyler Casper to Eugene a year and a half ago. They did just get Trayshawn Holden, the wide receiver from Bama, but there are also other things other than just money. There are other reasons why Oregon's offense is more appealing than Iowa's. Now, as it relates to Jacobs, we're talking defense, so I just can't speak on that. It is a little odd given the fact that he was in line to be the star of that defense. I don't know if Seth Benson's thinking about coming back. I think it'd be good on Seth Benson. But with Jack Campbell leaving, you're probably looking at an opportunity for a guy like Jestin Jacobs to be the star of that defense. And heck, I think if Jestin Jacobs had declared for the draft this year, he probably would have been a top 5 or 6 round draft pick. He's got an opportunity to work his way up the draft boards. We can speculate all we want. The rumor had been out there that Jestin Jacobs had been offered some money prior to entering the transfer portal. And yes, that is by definition tampering. However, there's so much tampering going on anymore. And certainly coaches kind of skirt around that by communicating with family members and communicating with former coaches and friends and find a way around that rule. It's not being enforced. It's not being regulated. It's not being monitored. So it is what it is. If tampering occurred, it occurred. At this point, there's been given so much authority and freedom to the student athlete. And I don't have a problem with that in and of itself. They have so much freedom. They have more freedom than pro athletes do. And it's not even close right now, right? I mean, guys can go anywhere at any time for any reason. They can basically get any amount of money. And yes, as has been talked about a number of times, there is no salary cap for these programs. And because it's being funneled through collectives and boosters and whatnot, donors, it's just a mess right now. But again, you can't blame a kid if he's being given an opportunity to play for a dollar amount and it's sort of within the rules to do so. Can you blame him? I'm not going to wish anything ill on Jestin Jacobs. Frustrated that he's leaving because he had an opportunity to be a star here next year. And it is yet another loss. And for the people out there who say, well, Iowa hasn't really lost anybody of great consequence besides Jestin Jacobs, I couldn't disagree with that more. Obviously, Terry Roberts is a big loss. Keegan Johnson's a big loss. There's a reason why Kansas State, who went to the Big 12 championship game, took Keegan Johnson yesterday. And certainly Oregon has an opportunity to win the Pac-12 next year. So it is what it is. Iowa will regroup as it relates to Iowa's linebacking core. You have Jay Higgins back. All right. Could he potentially fill in for the departure of Jack Campbell? I think they're going to need him to. Where is Kyler Fisher's development? He kind of came up strong. It sounded like through fall camp. Didn't hear from him really at all during the season. Logan Klemp, I'm assuming he's moving on. Certainly Seth Benson's decision will be worth monitoring. Sullivan, Jaden Harrell, those guys, probably time to step up, right? I mean, those guys have been in the program a couple of years. Time to make your names known. Ernest Hausman, transfer from Nebraska. He was on campus at the Iowa State basketball game here last week. He's a young budding linebacker for the Huskers that's looking for a new home, so potentially they move in on him. I will say this, one note, Oregon, just one day after Jestin Jacobs commits to Oregon, because he officially committed to Oregon yesterday, former 5-star linebacker Justin Flau entered the portal. He's a former 5-star inside linebacker out of Upland, California, had offers from just about everybody, from USC to Bama to Clemson, Miami. Not saying that Iowa is going to make a push for him. However, given the fact that Jacobs just left and here's a guy who is looking for a new home. Now, ironically enough, one of the teams that did not offer him, according to 247 Sports, was Iowa. But Iowa doesn't do a whole lot of work out in California. But maybe they make an exception on a big name like this at a position where they're losing a star. So we'll see. A lot of guys out there, obviously, we know, and there's still movement going on in the portal. So far, you lose Keegan Johnson, you lose Jestin Jacobs. You got Cade McNamara. The big names left would be Terry Roberts, Arlen Bruce, Gavin Williams, kind of. Gavin Williams is probably a third or fourth, or even fourth string running back right now at Iowa. So Terry Roberts and Arlen Bruce are the two big names to follow. Iowa's got to do some work. I mean, they just got to do some work right now. I'm not saying I'm panicking, but it's early, but guys are starting to commit places. So time to get on it. I know Iowa's working hard in the portal, but at some point you got to see results. And obviously coaching staff changes might help the cause, but not sure we're going to get those. We'll talk more about the transfer portal and everything as it relates to Iowa and Iowa football tomorrow afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, that is, at 4:30 Central Time with Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, on YouTube. Iowa football at the voice of college football, a live edition of Iowa Hawkeyes Live, 4:30 p.m. Central Time. We'll talk to you then.